So there are two parts in the today's prompt, A and B. First, we will take up the A of everyone, and then we will move to the B part.
Okay.
Yes. So Abhi Rooney, you are here. Abhijit,
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. So you are the opening batsman for today. Good.
Yes, sir.
So Ranjan, you can take it over.
अच्छा एक चीज लेट मी नो कि जो प्रॉम्प्ट्स जो है दो प्रॉम्प्ट्स दिया गया था या एक हाँ तो दो
प्रॉम्प्ट A and B.
A and B. अच्छा तो today we'll be dealing with prompt A and tomorrow
No, first today we will be dealing with the prompt A, and also after that whatever the time will be left, we will be moving to the prompt B. Right?
Achha, what is,
so not everybody writes, so I gave them the two prompts for the single day because they are small one this time. The number of words limitation is a small. So I was able to attempt both, so hopefully both will be taken up today. Otherwise, whatever will be left, we will take it over tomorrow. And for tomorrow, I will send the prompt tonight.
Tomorrow night or day after tomorrow? My class is again. Achha, what is prompt number B? Because I have not got the prompts.
Just a moment. So prompt number A is strangers meet on an adventure trip and develop a connection. However, both do not understand each other's language. Write a scene between them with minimal or no dialogue.
Achha. What is prompt number B?
जो आवाज आ रही है भैया, ये जरा अपना ऑडियो बंद कर लीजिए. जो आदमी बोल नहीं रहा है वो ऑडियो बंद कर लीजिए. Okay, Ranjan, prompt number B is write a scene with no or minimum dialogue that one of the following. One is superstition or loss or courage.
Achha, write what? Write what?
Write some without dialogue, which reflect either the superstition or a loss, maybe loss of a father, loss of a mother, loss of a money, whatever it is.
Write a scene. Is it a scene or a story?
Out of three, they have to choose one option.
नहीं ये क्या scene लिखना पड़ेगा या कहानी लिखना पड़ेगा? ये scene लगना.
Write a scene with no dialogue on one of the following thing: superstition, loss, or courage.
अच्छा, समझ गया. Okay. अच्छा दोस्तों, कोई आवाज आ रहा है, देखो यार.
सब लोग जो है ये बात लिख के स्टाम्प पेपर पे नहीं दी जाएगी. Please switch off your mobile audio so that other people can hear other people. Otherwise, there is no point coming here. Okay? Please behave like a sensible man. Okay, Abhijit, start.
अभिनोनी,
Yes,
तुम्हारा एक नंबर वाला प्रॉम्प्ट है ना?
हाँ.
ओके, पढ़ो.
ठीक. एक बस रुकती है. पृथ्वी बस में से उतरता है और देखता है सामने बोर्ड लगा है जिस पर लिखा है गोवा. आगे वह 1 किलोमीटर पैदल ही जाता है और फिर एक बीच के किनारे जाकर बैठता है कि एक लगभग 20 साल का लड़का समुद्र की लहरों के साथ दौड़ लगा रहा है और देखता है कि वह लड़का समुद्र में अंदर जाता है और फिर समुद्र की लहरों के साथ वापस आता है. ऐसा वह 3 से 4 बार करता है. पृथ्वी मुस्कुराता है और उसे देखता रहता है। बीच पर बहुत से लोग हैं। पृथ्वी भी समुद्र की लहरों के साथ खेलने की कोशिश करता है। वह पानी में थोड़ी दूर जाता है, लेकिन लहरों के दूर रहने पर ही दौड़ता हुआ वापस आता है। ऐसा वह 2 बार करता है।
एक सेकंड ठहरो, तुमने पंक्चुएशन क्यों नहीं दे रहे हो? ये तो वन लंबा सेंटेंस तुमने लिख डाला। एक बस रुकती है, पृथ्वी, हाँ वहां पे कोई फुल स्टॉप नहीं है। फुल स्टॉप मतलब हिंदी का जो इक्विवेलेंट है। पृथ्वी बस से उतरता है, देखता है सामने कोई बोर्ड लगा है जिसमें लिखा है गोवा। यहाँ पे तुमने फुल स्टॉप दिया। आगे 1 किलोमीटर पैदल ही जाता है और फिर एक बीच के किनारे जाकर बैठता है। तो ये पंक्चुएशन क्यों नहीं है भैया?
Yes.
हाँ, ये मैं पहले भी बता चुका हूँ। बी वेरी केयरफुल अबाउट योर कंस्ट्रक्शंस एंड पंक्चुएशंस। हाँ, नहीं तो इट लुक्स वेरी केयरलेस, दिस विल गो अगेंस्ट यू। ओके, अच्छा। देखता क्या रहता, लगभग 20 साल का लड़का समुद्र के लहरों के साथ दौड़ लगा रहा है और देखता है कि वो लड़का समुद्र में अंदर जाता है और फिर समुद्र की लहरों के साथ वापस आता है। वो 3 से 4 बार करता है। पृथ्वी मुस्कुराता है और उसे देखता रहता है। बीच पर बहुत से लोग हैं। पृथ्वी भी समुद्र के लहरों के साथ खेलने का कोशिश करता है। वो पानी में थोड़ी दूर जाता है, लेकिन लहरों के दूर रहने पर ही दौड़ता हुआ वापस आता है और वो ऐसा 2-3 बार करता है। फिर हाँ पढ़ो।
पृथ्वी को यह करते हुए देखकर वह लड़का मुस्कुराता है और पृथ्वी के करीब आता है। लड़का हैंडशेक के लिए आगे हाथ बढ़ाता है और कन्नड़ में कहता है, मेरा नाम ऋषभ शेट्टी है, कर्नाटक से। पृथ्वी भी हैंडशेक करता है और अपना नाम बताता है, पृथ्वी बिहार से। ऋषभ उसे समुद्र की तरफ इशारा करता है और 1 2 3 बोलने पर दोनों एक साथ दौड़ते हैं। समुद्र में लहरें आने वाली होती हैं। पृथ्वी लहरों को गौर से देखता रहता है। वह पीछे जाने की जल्दी में होता है, लेकिन ऋषभ उसका हाथ पकड़े हुए रहता है जब तक लहरें नजदीक नहीं आ जाती। लहरों के नजदीक पहुंचने पर ऋषभ पृथ्वी के साथ दौड़ता हुआ किनारे पहुंच जाता है और लहरें पीछे रह जाती हैं। दोनों मुस्कुराने लगते हैं। ऋषभ कन्नड़ में कहता है कि मजा आ गया और पृथ्वी उसे ध्यान से देखने लगता है। ऋषभ भी उसे देखता है और 4 सेकंड बाद दोनों जोर से हंसने लगते हैं और फिर लहरों के साथ दौड़ लगाते हैं और फिर लहरों को पछाड़ देते हैं। वे समुद्र में तैरते हैं। शाम हो जाती है। वे अपना कैंप लगाते हैं और सोने चले जाते हैं। सुबह वे दोनों उठते हैं, अपना बैग लिए एक दूसरे के गले लगते हैं और इस बार पृथ्वी भोजपुरी में कहता है, अलविदा मेरे दोस्त। ऋषभ पृथ्वी को ध्यान से देखता है और फिर वे दोनों हंसने लगते हैं।
देखो यहाँ पे कई चीजों में फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल कि ये एक सीन तुम्हें बोला गया लिखने के लिए जहाँ पे 2 strangers meet on an adventure trip, ठीक है ना, and develop a connection. Okay, however both do not understand each other's language, right? Just see between them with minimal or no dialogues. Okay, तो डायलॉग्स लिखना जरूरी नहीं है। अगर डायलॉग्स अगर लिख भी रहे तो मिनिमम डायलॉग चाहिए। तो 2 strangers meet on an adventure trip. वो एडवेंचर ट्रिप का मतलब क्या है?
कोई घूमने जाते हैं, पहाड़ों पर चढ़ते हैं और ऐसे घूमते टहलते हैं, कहीं रात गुजारते हैं, ऐसे।
हाँ, तो एडवेंचर ट्रिप मतलब कहीं ट्रेकिंग में जा रहे हैं या क्लाइंबिंग कर रहे हैं, यू नो, कोई जंगल में जा रहे हैं या माउंटेन्स क्लाइंब कर रहे हैं, you know, this is called adventure trip. Adventure trip does not mean something which suddenly happens, you know, suddenly an adventure हो जाती, ऐसा नहीं है। तो यहाँ पे तुमने जो लिखा है, this is not an adventure trip, this is more like an adventure. So first of all try to understand the difference between adventure and adventure trip. Adventure trip is arranged, you know, either amongst friends or by some kind of an organization. Okay, तो तुम्हें एडवेंचर ट्रिप के बारे में लिखने के लिए बोला गया है, एडवेंचर के बारे। हाँ, तुम्हारे सीन में एडवेंचर हो रहा है, लेकिन ये एडवेंचर ट्रिप नहीं, ये पहला गलती है, ठीक है। नंबर 2, हाँ, सो पहले क्वेश्चन सही तरीके से समझने का कोशिश करो। ओके, नाउ सेकंड इज दिस कि तुमने फर्स्ट सेंटेंस में ही लिखा है कि एक बस रुकती है, पृथ्वी बस से उतरता है और देखता है सामने बोर्ड लगा है जिसमें लिखा है। हाँ, पृथ्वी बस से उतरता है, ओके, अभी सामने बोर्ड में लिखा है गोवा, ऐसा नहीं लिखा रहता। गोवा इज अ बिग स्टेट, ओके, गोवा में बहुत सारे शहर है, गांव है, तो वो तुम्हें स्पेसिफाई करना चाहिए। ये कोई बीच है, ये अंजुना बीच है, कॉमा गोवा, यू हैव टू बी अ लिटिल स्पेसिफिक। आगे 1 किलोमीटर पैदल ही जाता है, फिर एक बीच के, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई विल नॉट गेट इनटू how would you show he walks 1 kilometer? No, this is something very technical, which at this stage you are not required to understand, and not even explain to you how to deal with these kind of situations where a character covers 1 kilometer. वो 1 किलोमीटर पैदल जाएगा तो उसको मिनिमम 10 मिनट लगेगा। हाँ, तो तुम 10 मिनट पर्दे में नहीं दिखा सकते कि वो पैदल जा रहा है। स्क्रीन टाइम जिसे हम लोग बोलते हैं, तुम 10 मिनट अगर पर्दे में दिखाओगे एक बंदा जा रहा है, तो बोरिंग हो जाए, ठीक है ना। तो ये फिर भी मैं मान लूंगा, चलो 1 किलोमीटर वो पैदल जाता है और फिर एक बीच के किनारे जाकर बैठता है। ओके, अब बोलो ये बंदा है कौन? सीधी बस से उतरता है, ये क्या टूरिस्ट है या क्या है? उसको इज ही कैरिंग सम लगेज और इज ही अलोन? इज नॉट कैरिंग सम एनी लगेज। वो है क्या? कहाँ से टपक के आया? मतलब उसको देख के क्या हमें लगा? मैं उसका बैकग्राउंड नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ, वो कौन सा कहाँ से आ रहा है, बिहार से आ रहा है या नैनीताल से आ रहा है, ये मैं नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ। उसको देख के क्या लगा? वो टूरिस्ट है, घूमने के लिए आया है, क्या कर रहा है?
टूरिस्ट है सर।
टूरिस्ट है, अच्छा। तो वो अगर टूरिस्ट है, वो बैग क्यों नहीं कैरी कर रहा है?
सर मैंने लास्ट में लिखा कि बैग है उसके साथ, लेकिन पहले नहीं लिखा।
हाँ, तो पहले भी लिखना चाहिए ना कि अगर, हाँ मुझे लग रहा है अरे ये बंदा कहाँ से टपक के आया यार, हाँ ऐसे ही पैदल जा रहा है, हाँ, तो तुमको लिखना चाहिए था वो बैग कैरी कर रहा है, he's carrying a rucksack maybe, you know, or a small bag on shoulder, ठीक है। तो ऐसा लिखते ही हमें पता चल जाएगा कि ये टूरिस्ट है, लोकल बंदा है ना। तो अगर वो टूरिस्ट है, लोकल बंदा नहीं है, बस से उतरता है, तो वो पहला चीज क्या करेगा? वो तुरंत क्या अपना समुद्र के किनारे जाएगा या होटल ढूंढेगा?
अगर सर ज्यादा, हाँ सर, अगर दूर से आए तो होटल में जाएगा, दूर से नहीं आएगा तो तुरंत
है
चला
ना।
जाएगा।
हाँ, तो ये अननेचुरल लग रहा है ना। तुम कहीं जा रहे हो, बस में आए तुम कहीं से, बम्बई से हो या बिहार से, तो बस कोई उतना दूर वहां पे तो नहीं जाएगा, ठीक है ना। हाँ, तो पहला चीज जो तुम करोगे, तुम होटल में जाओ, है ना। हाँ, होटल में जाके चेक इन करोगे, थोड़ी देर बाद तुम निकलोगे। तुमने ऐसा नहीं किया, ये अननेचुरल लग रहा है। हाँ, मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि होटल दिखाना जरूरी है, ठीक है। हाँ, तो दीज आर लॉजिकल फ्लॉज, आई एम पॉइंटिंग आउट द लॉजिकल फ्लॉज इन योर सीन, ओके। तो फिर वो देखता है एक बंदा लहरों में खेल रहा है, ठीक है, तो उसके साथ आई कांटेक्ट होता है, तो वो क्या करता है, वो भी समुद्र में आ जाता है ना।
हाँ सर।
हाँ, वो भी खेलने का कोशिश करता है, ठीक है। अगर वो खेल रहा है तो वो क्या, जो कपड़ा पहन के आया था वही कपड़े में खेल रहा है? हाँ,
नहीं सर, कपड़ा तो निकालेगा, लेकिन लिखा नहीं।
हाँ, तो वो लिखा तुमने?
नहीं सर।
हाँ, देखो ये सब चीजें अभी तुम फिल्म मेकर हो, ओके, या बनने का कोशिश कर रहे हो, ओके, ये सब चीजों में ध्यान दो। कि तुमने आराम से लिख डाला कि वो समुद्र के किनारे बैठा है, एक लड़के को देख रहा है, खेल रहा है, वो भी एंथुसियास्टिक हो जाता है, वो भी जाके समुद्र में खेलने का कोशिश करता है। अरे उसका कपड़ा वगैरह भीग जाएगा ना। सो you have to write, he takes off his t-shirt, he takes off his pant, he's in his underwear, okay, and he takes out a towel from inside his bag, okay, and then he runs towards the sea and jumps into the water, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
तो हाँ, तो ये डिटेलिंग बहुत जरूरी है। तुमने कुछ भी लिख डाला, हाँ, कि उसको देख के हमें पता नहीं चल रहा है वो है कौन बंदा, तो फिर वो दोनों हाथ मिलाते हैं, बोलता है क्या, व्हाट इज द फर्स्ट डायलॉग? मेरा नाम ऋषभ, मैं कर्नाटक से हूँ। पृथ्वी भी हैंडशेक करता है और अपना नाम बताता है, पृथ्वी, बिहार से। तो अभी ऐसा लग रहा है पृथ्वी को कन्नड़ पता है क्या?
नहीं सर।
हाँ, बोलो। हाँ, तो अगर पता नहीं है तो मेरा नाम मेरा नाम ऋषभ क्या है, छुट्टी है। हाँ, मेरा नाम ऋषभ छुट्टी है, कर्नाटक से। तो ये कैसे पता चलेगा उसने क्या बोला?
तो सर बस ऋषभ नाम से पता चल जाए कि नाम ऋषभ है शायद उसका।
हाँ, पता चल जाएगा ऋषभ। हाँ, तो अगर हाँ, तो क्या बोलेगा? मैं ऋषभ हूँ। हाँ, तो ऐसा कुछ बोलेगा ना, अपना लैंग्वेज बोलेगा,
हाँ,
है ना?
अपना लैंग्वेज
हाँ,
बोलेगा।
हाँ, हाँ, तो पृथ्वी को समझ में नहीं आएगा, पृथ्वी स्माइल कर रहा है, तो पृथ्वी का जवाब क्या हो सकता है?
सर
क्या
बस
बोलेगा?
उसे ये समझ आएगा कि जैसे उसने बोला मेरा नाम ऋषभ शेट्टी है, कन्नड़ में बोलेगा, तो उसे इतना तो समझ आएगा कि ऋषभ कुछ नाम होता है।
ठीक है, हाँ, तो वो क्या बोलेगा?
हाँ, तो बोलेगा कि पृथ्वी, बिहार, ऐसा तो पता चल जाएगा कि अच्छा
हाँ, हाँ,
पृथ्वी
हाँ,
है
हाँ,
बिहार।
हाँ, 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 तो ऐसा बोलेगा ना, पृथ्वी, हाँ, वो
हाँ,
विल पॉइंट टुवर्ड्स हिमसेल्फ, पृथ्वी डॉट 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 बिहार।
यस
ओके,
यस।
सो हाँ, सो दे आर टॉकिंग मिनिमम, सो समझ में आ जाएगा, हाँ, कि ये बिहार से है, हाँ, और
ऋषभ,
बोलेगा, तब ऋषभ बोल सकता है कर्नाटक, ऐसा बोल सकता है, हाँ, हाँ, दोनों अपना समुद्र में जो खेल कूद कर रहे हैं। तो यहाँ पे देखो, कोई भी सीन में मैंने पहले भी बता चुका हूँ, कुछ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होना जरूरी है, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट मतलब कुछ प्रॉब्लम होना जरूरी है। यहाँ पे कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है क्या? यहाँ पे जो मजाक ही मजाक हो रहा है ना? तो देखो, कोई भी सीन तुम जब लिख रहे हो, कोई भी जब कहानी लिख रहे हो, उसमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम होना जरूरी है। यहाँ पे सिर्फ दोनों लड़के, तुमने उम्र का भी इंडिकेशन नहीं किया, ये लगभग 25 साल के हैं इन दोनों, या क्या उम्र है, या मिडिल एजेड पर्सन है, ये भी तुमने इंडिकेट नहीं किया, वो भी इंडिकेट करना जरूरी है। एक ब्रीफ डिस्क्रिप्शन कहाँ पे किया तुमने?
ऋषभ का ऊपर 20 साल।
20 साल, अच्छा, लगभग 20 साल, हाँ, ठीक है, वहां पे किया। ओके, फिर ये समुद्र में तैरते हैं, शाम हो जाती है और अपना कैंप लगाते हैं और सोने चले जाते हैं। तो अपना कैंप लगाते हैं मतलब अलग अलग कैंप लगा रहे हैं, एक ही कैंप में दोनों सोने के लिए? क्या
सर
है?
अपना अपना व्यवस्था लेके आए हैं सर।
अच्छा, तो वो भी थोड़ा सा डिटेलिंग करना जरूरी है ना,
सर,
कि दोनों अपने अपने कैंप निकालते हैं बैग से,
हाँ, हाँ,
लगाते हैं और वही बीच में सोने के लिए चले जाते हैं। हाँ, बस
यस
यहीं पे
यस।
तुम्हारा सीन खत्म होता है। सुबह तो क्या होता है, सुबह उठ के अपना बैग लिए ये दूसरा सीन बन जाता है। एनी चेंज ऑफ टाइम और एनी चेंज ऑफ स्पेस इज अ न्यू सीन। ये याद रखो, तुम्हें एक सीन लिखने के लिए बोला गया। एक सीन मतलब a scene is, I am telling this to everybody, a scene is defined by a single space or a single time. Okay, any change in the space is, or any change in the time of the day, मतलब सुबह हो चुका है, it's a new scene. So you're not supposed to write a new scene, you're supposed to write one particular scene. Okay, दोनों उठते हैं, अपना बैग लिए एक दूसरे के गले लगते हैं, और इस बार पृथ्वी भोजपुरी में कहता है, अलविदा मेरे दोस्त। ऋषभ पृथ्वी का ध्यान से देखता है और फिर से दोनों हंसने लगते हैं। ठीक है, सो हाँ, तुमने यू हैव कैप्चर्ड अ मोमेंट, two strangers meet and they start bonding, which is good, but this is not an adventure trip at all. Neither there is an adventure भी actually नहीं हो रहा है ना? ऐसा नहीं कि एक डूब जा रहा है, वो एक दूसरे को बचा रहा है ना, फिर बॉन्डिंग हो रहा है। Okay, so this is not a good piece of scene, good piece of writing. तो सीन समझने का, two strangers meet on an adventure trip and develop a connection. Develop a connection with some kind of a bond. It could be negative, it could be positive. Okay, चलो।
Thanks.
अभी कौन है? अभी कौन है भैया, आ जाओ। कोई है, सुनाई दे रहा है? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
चलो, who's going to read now?
Saurav is not there.
Saurav is not there. Okay, Saurav is not there. Is Ekagra Singhal there?
Yes, sir.
Ekagra, okay, chalo, start reading.
Okay. Hello. The waves are high and the boat suddenly seems to capsize. As the woman behind holds him steady, oh, there has to be a question mark, saving him as he was about to lose his mooring on the boat. And then there comes the next wave, throwing the boat higher than even the previous one. Now they are both latching onto each other. She looks at him and gives him a reassuring smile. He pays her back with the same gesture. The waves have subsided as they are now at the calmer patch of the stream and are rowing the moors quietly. He looks at her and asks, English? She replies, no, Espanol. He fixes his moor at the side, joins the palms of both his hands, and makes a bowing gesture. She smiles and does the same. The steady sound of the stream and the sunset visible right behind her. They both start laughing a light laughter. The man turns back, takes his moor, and starts rowing again.
Okay, this is better. And what I like in your scene is basically you have started the scene from a point where you've caught the scene in the middle of a crisis. So the waves are high and the boat suddenly seems to capsize as the woman behind holds him steadily, saving him as he was about to lose his mooring on the boat. And then there comes the next wave, throwing the boat higher than ever, even the previous one. Now they're both latching onto each other. So a crisis ho raha hai, crisis kya ho raha hai? There are waves, dangerous waves, and the boat is kind of rocking. And inside the boat, there are two characters: a woman who saves the boy, and there's a man, and the man was about to drown almost, get thrown off the boat. And in the nick of the time, the woman saves the man, and they clutch against each other. Okay, they're holding on to each other. Okay, she looks at him and gives him a reassuring smile. Very good. So she's kind of trying to enthuse him. He pays her back with the same gesture. Okay? So they have started bonding also. So she saves him, and because he got disbalanced, and then she gives him a reassuring smile, and he also smiles back, and they kind of start. There's a connect between them. Okay. Now you have written the waves of society. Now suddenly the waves of society. This should be another paragraph.
Yeah.
समझ गया? क्योंकि now something else is happening. अभी तक क्या था? अभी तक बहुत ही dangerous एक situation था. अभी the waves of society. अभी dangerous situation नहीं. Okay, so please make it kind of a next paragraph.
Yes.
Okay, the waves have subsided as they are now at the calmer patch of the stream and are rowing the moors quietly. Moors matlab the oars, na? You're talking about the oars.
Oh, yeah, oars, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
moves quietly.
I got the wrong word.
Yeah. He looks at her and asks, English? She replies, no, Espanol. Okay. He fixes his oar at the side, joins the palms of both his hands, showing his gratitude, making a bowing gesture. Okay. And she smiles and does the same. The steady sound of stream and the sunset is visible right behind her. They both start laughing, a lighter laughter. The man turns back, takes his oar, and starts rowing. I think this is very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, mat bolo. This is not an examination. This is a practice. Okay. So I'm required to point out the problems or the good points of any of these exercises. Okay. So yeah, and of course it's very visual. I can see the entire action. Okay, and I can also understand it is an adventure trip. Adventure trip में ऐसा जाते हैं ना राफ्ट में या ऐसी rapids जो हम लोग बोलते हैं.
Well, actually, it was supposed to be a raft. In my head, it was a raft, but at that point, while I was writing, I forgot the word raft. So I used
boat. ठीक है. So I think this is very visual. There's hardly any minimal dialogues है, and two characters they bond through a crisis. कोई भी crisis जब होता है, एक bonding बनता है. Characters के बीच. It's quite a regular template. Okay, adventure template जिसे हम. Okay, so ये तुमने अच्छा पकड़ा है. Okay, which is good. ठीक है. थोड़ा सा एक चीज करना चाहिए था. इनका एज क्या है? थोड़ा सा एक अंदाजा. Approximately 25 years or approximately 35 years. Yeah, middle age kind of. So वो थोड़ा सा और dress भी क्या पहने हैं? Are they wearing those safety jackets also? है ना, सेफ्टी जैकेट्स होते हैं ना ऑरेंज कलर के, और ऐसा एडवेंचर स्पोर्ट्स में जनरली यू आर रिक्वायर्ड टू वेयर दोस सेफ्टी जैकेट्स, ऑरेंज कलर सब. सो वो डिटेलिंग इज मिसिंग. वो करना चाहिए तुम्हें.
द डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ द कैरेक्टर्स.
डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ द मिनिमम. एकदम ऐसा नहीं कि लेंदी राइटर लेंदी पैराग्राफ, ऐसा नहीं है. ठीक है. तो बोथ ऑफ देम आर वेयरिंग ऑरेंज कलर लाइफ जैकेट्स. तो इमीडिएटली हमें पता चल जाएगा कि ये दिस इज अ एडवेंचर स्पोर्ट्स काइंड ऑफ समथिंग. Okay, so that detail is only missing, and the age, approximate age. Okay. ठीक है, चलो अभी अद्रिजा कुंडू आ जाओ।
Yes, sir.
हम्म,
Lali stirs in her tent, unable to sleep. She opens WhatsApp chat of Akash, the last text sent by him saying, "Please come back home." She picks up her hiking gear and makes her way out. The camp has several tents placed and everyone is inside. It is still pitch dark outside. Lali takes her trekking pole and climbs the hill. She stops, takes out a bottle of local wine and drinks from it just when she hears some stirring near the bushes. Sound of someone approaching. She takes a knife out of her jacket just when a blonde-haired woman appears. "Je m'appelle Nala." "Drink?" Lali. "Lali, only English, please." Nala. "I weak English." Lali's sweater pulls up, revealing cigarette burns as she hands the bottle over to Nala. She quickly hides it. Nala notices. Lali is wearing a simple gold ring on her ring finger. Nala points to the top of the hill and Lali nods. They continue climbing up in silence. A deer appears and Lali takes a picture with her Polaroid camera while Nala takes out her binoculars. They glee at each other in excitement. They come across two roads diverging in different directions. Nala opens her bag and takes out a map when another file of papers fall on the ground. Lali and Nala both kneel down to pick it up when Lali's eyes fall on a photograph showing Nala smiling with a handsome white man. Lali smiles, points at the man, and squeezes her hand together. Nala laughs, shows her empty ring finger, and shakes her head. Lali looks sad and confused. Nala opens her jacket zipper and pulls up her top to reveal injury marks on her hips and back. Lali gulps in horror. They continue walking uphill till they reach the highest point. Lali's eyes well up as she takes in the scenery. Nala holds Lali's hands, looks into her eyes. She pulls up Lali's sleeves and takes a hard look at the cigarette burns. Tears fall from Lali's eyes. Nala takes out the photograph of her husband and her from the bag and rips it apart. Lali takes a wedding ring from her finger and throws it away. Smiling and laughing at each other, they light a cigarette and take a drag each.
Okay, I think this is very good. How two women born through certain. I'll just list out. First of all, Lali stirs in a tent, unable to sleep. She opens the WhatsApp chat of Akash. The last text scene sent by him says, "Please come back home." She picks up her hiking gear and makes her way out. Okay, यहाँ पे देखो, as I was just telling Ronnie, Ronnie, कि any change in space is a new scene. Okay, so when you're inside, the tent, that is one scene. When she steps out of the tent, that is a new scene. In fact, that's a new sequence. Okay, because a scene is defined by a single space. Okay, and you are required to write a scene. Okay, you're not required to write two scenes. Are you getting me, Adriya?
Yes, sir. So,
okay, so you should have started your scene from the point she emerges from the, she emerges from inside the this thing, the tent. Okay, and not show inside the tent. Okay, she's already in her hiking gear. Okay, and she emerges. Maybe she stands a while, kind of through her gesture, hesitating gesture, we can make out, whether she wants to do or not. Then she takes out her, the phone, and then she reads the message, last WhatsApp message from Akash. Okay. So, and यहाँ से उसका शुरू हो रहा है. Suddenly she stumbles. She takes a knife out of her jacket, and when a blonde, just when she hears some stirring near the bushes, sound of someone, she becomes afraid. So she takes a knife off her jacket. Just when a blonde-haired woman appears, she's Nala. She's drink. Lali only. Lali only English, please. I weak in English. Lali sweater pulls up, revealing cigarette burns as she hands the bottle over to. She quickly hides it. So when she pulls up her jacket to take out the bottle, so we see cigarette burns. So we can understand there's some kind of a backstory. This is a very telling detail, as we say. Okay, and Nala points to the top of the hill, and Lali nods. They start climbing, continue to climb in silence. A deer appears, and Lali takes pictures, etc. They come across two roads. Lali and both kneel down to pick it up. Papers fall. Lali's eyes fall on a photograph showing Nala smiling with a handsome white man. Lali smiles, points at the man and squeezes her hand. Together, Nala laughs, shows her empty ring finger and shakes her head. Okay. Lali looks sad and confused. Lala opens her jacket zipper and pulls up her top to reveal injury marks on her hips and back. That she's also injured. Lali gulps in horror. They continue walking uphill till they reach the highest point. Lali's eyes well up as she takes on the scenery. Nala, whose Lali's hand looks into eyes, she pulls up Lali's sleeves and takes a hard look at her cigarette burns. Okay, tears fall from Lali's eyes. Nala takes out the photo of her husband and her from the bag and rips it apart. Lali takes the wedding ring from her finger and throws it away. So basically, both these women have had bad experiences with the husband or boyfriend, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Nala definitely kind of must be a boyfriend, and Lali's, because she's wearing a wedding ring, to must be. That is why she's on a trip basically to escape the trauma or the horror.
Both of them are survivors of domestic violence.
Domestic, yeah. And how were two survivors of domestic violence? Yeah, they stumble into each other in an adventure trip, and they discover the stories without speaking any dialogue, through details, which is very, very good. Okay, and through details of cigarette burns and other such things, and they bond. This is very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll remember regarding the scene.
Scene is any change in of course, when she steps out, they travel a long distance, they climb and all. So you can ask me, sir, ये भी तो different locations हो जा रहे हैं, तो this is a sequence. देखो, a scene is defined by a single purpose. Okay, a sequence consists of several scenes. A sequence is also defined by a single purpose. Okay, if the purpose changes, then you have a different scene or a different sequence. Okay, so तुम्हारा major thing है कि start from the point where she steps out of the tent.
Or I think so. So I think maybe the safest thing would be to like start when they're like, when say Lali has already started climbing the hill or something like that. Then
yeah. वो भी हो सकता है, right? वो भी हो सकता है. हाँ, देखो क्या है.
There are multiple spaces, so
where they could have discovered. So मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ कि always try to, whenever you're writing a scene, the Hollywood वाले जो होते हैं, they have a approach, towards writing a scene. कि get into the scene as late as possible and come out immediately after you've made your point. Okay. हाँ, so ये हर टाइम करना जरूरी नहीं है, लेकिन क्या है कि कभी-कभी ऐसी सीन्स हैं जहाँ पे बिल्डअप भी जरूरी होता है ना. तो अगर बिल्डअप जरूरी है, बिल्डअप करो. लेकिन जैसे कि the last this thing I read on a boat by Ekagra Singhal, he started his scene directly from the middle of the action, from the middle of the crisis. Okay, there's no build-up, so there's nothing wrong in that. Yours maybe needs a little build-up, but not so much. Okay.
So, when we are writing a scene, it's not, and we have to write it within like 300 words. It's not easy to give much of a build-up. Or
exactly. That is why 300 words bola gaya na? So you might as well start from the middle of the action.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
So this is mine, I think.
Neeraj is sitting. कौन हो तुम भैया?
Prashant, sir.
Prashant. Okay, चलो पढ़ो Prashant.
Neeraj is sitting on a train and looking at a leaflet. He has his luggage on the seat in front of him. Arya is wiping his wet hands on a small wet towel near the luggage. He looks at Neeraj, who is still busy looking at the leaflet. Neeraj finally looks up and sees Arya. Sorry, he says. He picks up his luggage and keeps it under the seat. Arya sits down and Neeraj keeps the leaflet he was reading on the table in between the seats. It reads Adventure Camping to National Park. They sit in silence for a few moments, and then Arya takes out his newspaper from his bag. It's in Tamil and has a picture of Rohit Sharma on the front page. Neeraj takes out his phone from his pocket and scrolls through Facebook. He starts playing clips from Hindi movies. Arya lowers his newspaper and stares at Neeraj. Neeraj takes out his earphones and from his luggage and wears them. Neeraj starts to laugh, which disturbs Arya even more. Arya gets up and climbs to the seat above him. Later, Arya gets bored and looks down. Neeraj is refreshing the page of ClickBuzz on his phone, but he loses his connection every time. Arya gets down and shows Neeraj the hotspot page and password from his phone. They watch the match through the app and either hi-fi each other or hold their heads when a wicket goes down.
I think this is also good, kind of two strangers inside a train. And but how do we know they're going on an adventure trip?
So in the leaflet, in like the third paragraph, I just wrote
picks
off.
up just sitting on a train. Leaflet, he has his luggage seat in front of him. Arya is wiping his wet hands on a small wet towel near the luggage. He looks at Neeraj. He's still busy looking at the leaflet. Neeraj finally looks up and sees Arya. Sorry, he picks up luggage, puts it on this table, a seat. Arya sits down and Neeraj keeps the leaflet reading on the table. Hi, please adventure camping to National Park. What about the other character?
Yeah, I didn't. He was. I didn't mention that he was also in the.
तो इसका तो पता चल जा रहा है, लेकिन दूसरा बंदा को पता नहीं चल रहा है वो क्यों जा रहा है, ठीक है, कहाँ जा रहा है, ये क्या है. But what I like about this thing कि Arya gets disturbed by Neeraj ka action, okay, and so he goes per the birth में, okay, and how they gradually bond. When you write written later, Arya gets good and looks down. Neeraj is refreshing the page of ClickBuzz on his phone, but he loses his connection every time. Arya gets down. यहाँ से इसका bonding शुरू हुआ. शुरुआत में there was some kind of a conflict, okay, yes. And now then now the next mood is boredom of a character, okay, and the irritation of another character because he's not able to connect. So because the other guy is bored, he gets down and helps him to how to do it. Arya shows you the hotspot page and the password from his phone. So they start bonding. They watch the match through the app and either hi-fi each other or hold their heads when a wicket goes down. Okay, so they have started bonding. Lekin you have not written up and given any information about the other character. And again, a little bit of that age. All of you are doing this galti ki age क्या है इन दोनों का और थोड़ा बहुत appearance dress क्या पहने हुए हैं, so हमें पता चल जाए, ठीक है ना? Okay, चलो.
Okay, thank you.
प्रखर आ जाओ.
Yes, sir. The scorching almighty sun of the desert makes Azad take shelter under a lone khajri tree in the wilderness.
एक second. देखो, the scorching almighty sun, the almighty ऐसा words use मत. मैंने पहले भी बता चुका हूँ, ठीक है ना? Don't use this kind of adjectives or words when you're writing a film story or a scene. Okay, the scorching sun of the desert makes Azad take shelter under a lone khajri tree in the wilderness. So yeah, so how do we know what is the action that we see? How do we understand that Azad is kind of affected by the scorching heat of the sun, and that is why he's taking shelter under a tree? What is the action that we should be seeing?
Like that he's going to the tree.
He's going to the tree to take shelter because of the scorching sun. ये हमें कैसा पता चले?
मतलब पहले से ऐसे सीन्स दिखाने पड़ेंगे कि सन की तरफ देख रहा है एंड इधर उधर देखता है छांव के लिए एंड फिर हो जाता है.
देखो ऐसा, हाँ, एक्शन, तुमने एक्शन नहीं लिखा, ठीक है ना? देखो, सीन इज एक्शन. एक्शन मतलब whatever visuals that we see. Wilderness, it's a desert, okay, there's nothing around, and the sun is shining brightly down on the desert, okay. Azad takes out his handkerchief and wipes his sweat and moves towards the khajri tree, under the khajri tree. So immediately we understand the fact that he's wiping his and he's looking at the sun, maybe he's doing this gesture Okay, so we know he's taking shelter. So action से हमें पता चलनी चाहिए कि because of the scorching heat, he's taking shelter. ये description नहीं है तुम्हारा, ये just information है. The scorching sun of the desert makes आजाद.
ये पैसिव हो गया, एक्टिव होना चाहिए था.
हाँ, cause and effect clear होने चाहिए. ठीक है.
ठीक.
लेकिन next line ये दिखाई दे रहा है. He wipes the sweat off his forehead. So we know that it's tremendously hot, and takes off his hat and sunglasses. The brightness hits him like a blast, and his eyes take a while to readjust. दिखाई दे रहा है. Very good. His hand moves towards the water bottle, slowly unscrewing the cap. He brings it close to his mouth, but stops. He looks inside the water bottle. Not more than 2 gulps left. He screws the cap back and keeps the bottle away, and starts to focus on the task on hand. What do you mean by starts to focus on the task on hand?
Sir, वो next paragraph में मतलब explain जरा.
Azad starts pitching his tent. So don't write. He starts to focus on the task on hand. मत लिखो.
He zips open his bag या फिर ऐसे कुछ. Action लिखो.
Action. ठीक है ना? Azad starts pitching his tent at the spot when a bearded man adorning a heavy, colorful headgear approaches him out of nowhere. Again, a little. तुमने अच्छा लिखा है. Heavy, colorful headgear approaches him out of nowhere. But approximate age around 45 or 50. You know, whatever is the age. The man makes a sound in some language unknown to Azad. Again, unknown to Azad. How will the audience know? You always look at the scene from the audience perspective also. The man makes a sound in some strange language. Okay. After several failed attempts at communication, he stops and sits down by the tree, humming a tune. Azad continues fixing the tent. Okay, so the very fact, you know, the man makes a sound in some strange language. Don't write unknown to Azad. Azad looks at him in surprise. So the fact that Azad is looking at him in surprise, but he still continues to make the strange kind of sound. So we know there's a communication gap between the two. Okay, he stops and sits down by the tree, humming a tune. Azad continues fixing the tent. By the time Azad gets done, the sun has already soared down the horizon. Stretching out his limbs and wiping the sweat away, Azad reaches for the gulp of, don't write deserved gulp of water. Again, this is a little vague, just gulp of water, the remaining whatever it was there, but the bottle is nowhere to be found. He looks around and finds the bottle in his bag with the man whose beard is dripping with water. Azad, in a fit of rage, runs after the bearded man, who starts running too, making strange sounds in his language. Azad hears a loud crashing sound from behind him and turns around to see his tent crumbling in the quicksand by the tree. Within a minute, the sand eats up his entire tent. Shocked, he turns around to see the bearded man has disappeared too, leaving behind Azad's bag and the bottle, which he uncaps to find full of cold, clear water. Very good. ठीक है ना? एकदम पूरा the spirit of adventure दिखाई दे रहा है और adventure हो रहा है. ठीक है? And the fact that he's also carrying a tent and you know, a water bottle and all, so we know he's on a trekking trip in a desert and is almost ran out of water when suddenly encounters a man, a stranger, must be a local guy, okay, and who steals his fortunately who kind of steals his bag, okay, and the water also only. But how, just एक चीज हमें समझ में नहीं आ रहा है ये, and the bottle which he uncaps to find full cold clear water कैसा आ गया?
सर वो मतलब ऐसा दिखाया कि वो एक गॉडली इंटरवेंशन था एंड क्विक सैंड से बचाने के लिए आजाद अगर वहीं पे रहता टेंट के पास तो वो भी क्विक सैंड में चला जाता।
वो लकीली सैंड है। हाँ, तो ये गॉड है क्या? ये बंदा गॉड है क्या?
मतलब इस क्या कुछ ये मैजिकल रियलिज्म के एंड पे आप सोच सकते हैं इसको।
हाँ ठीक, क्योंकि ये देखो मैजिकल रियलिज्म तुम अटेम्प्ट अभी तो मत करो, क्योंकि दिस इज टू पैट। भगवान आके इसको मतलब कोइंसिडेंटली ही कैन बी सेव, यू नो, कि उसको टेट गायब हो जाता है, वो आदमी भी गायब हो जाता है, लेकिन वो बच जाता है और उसको पानी भी मिल जाता है ना। हाँ, तो वो पानी मिलना थोड़ा सा, ये थोड़ा सा तुम बोल रहे हो मैजिक रियलिज्म है, लेकिन ये ऑडियंस को पता नहीं चलेगा ना कि ये भगवान उसको पानी दे के गया, बचा के गया। अदरवाइज द डिस्क्रिप्शंस आर गुड, द एडवेंचर, the lack of communication between the two characters, and the fact that they do not bond, but यहाँ पे लिखा है develop a connection. Connection did not always be bonding. It did not be always positive. It can be negative also. But यहाँ पे तुम्हारा negative है, which turns into a positive connection because this man indirectly helps him. Okay.
Right.
तो बस ये and it's of course very visual, very exciting. सिर्फ try to avoid words like scorching, almighty sun and all that. Okay, literature का language हो जाता है. You know, a script is or a scene is always to the point and very direct in its description. It should be.
Right, sir. थोड़ा passive की जगह active action हो.
Exactly, exactly. Okay. हो गया क्या?
Yes, sir.
Soham, are you there? Soham, are you there? Soham is not there. Adarsh Pandey, you are there? Adarsh, you're not there. Ishani Chaudhary, you're there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ishani. तुम्हारा कोई पैराग्राफ नहीं है. एक लंबा तुमने without any breaks.
Okay, I'll do that. Next
अभी
time.
मत करो. Next time करो.
Yeah, I'll do that.
विजुअली जो पढ़ेगा उसके लिए बोरिंग हो जाता है. और तुमने स्कूल में तो you must have been taught how to write essays, ना? तो ऐसे
Yes, sir,
में
yes,
you
sir.
paragraph
Yes.
ना? तो similarly
Yes,
C's
sir.
में भी okay, एक सेकंड. Okay, चलो पढ़ो.
Okay. The vast blue ocean stands before Ali, a mere 10-year-old boy. His feet are sinking deeper and deeper into the sand, with the gentle ebb and flow of the ocean as he traces his steps back and looks up at the blue sky. He sees a flock of seagulls flying and making a squeak sound. He's alone, and every time he looks at the water, he nods his head, drops his surfboard, and goes and sits in the nearest open restaurant situated at the beach. He does this a couple of times, going near the sea, taking the surfboard in his hand, then dropping it and coming back to
Excellent. I'm getting confused. The vast blue ocean stands before Ali, a mere 10-year-old boy. His feet are sinking deeper and deeper into the sand with the gentle ebb and flow of the ocean as he traces his steps back and looks up at the blue sky. So he's standing on the shore. Is that so?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if he's standing in the shore, is he looking at the sea?
Yeah, kind of like when the wave hits the feet because it's not deep at all.
Is he facing?
And
What I'm saying, is he facing the sea or is he
yes, sir.
facing
Yes,
away?
sir. Yes, sir.
Achha,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
he's,
Facing the sea.
actually, then you have written he traces his steps back and looks up at the blue sky. Now he's returning to the land. Traces
So
his
he's
step back.
kind of so he's moving away from
The sea now. He's not facing the sea.
from the sea.
Okay.
Yeah.
He sees a flock of seagulls flying and making walk sound. He's alone, and every time he looks at the water, he nods his head, drops his surfboard, and goes and sits in the nearest open restaurant. So he nods his. He does this a couple of times, going near the sea, taking the surfboard in his arms, and then dropping it and coming back to his seat. अच्छा, मतलब he's not getting into the water. मतलब
Yeah.
exactly, just describe to me because it's not very clear. Yeah, क्या हो रहा है exactly?
So he goes there, he takes his surfboard, but then he is kind of afraid of the water, so he drops it and gets back. He tries to gather courage, but he's not able to.
He gets back to the restaurant, a particular restaurant, है ना?
Yeah.
And he does this a couple of times, going near the sea, taking the surfboard, then dropping it and coming back to the seat at the restaurant. Okay. Then what happens?
Yeah. A red-haired woman has been seeing Ali struggle for some time now. The men at the restaurant are laughing seeing Ali struggle and find it quite amusing. Clarissa, the red-haired woman, sees this. However, this time goes to Ali, grabs his wrist and forcibly takes him to the water on his sword. He struggles against this but gives in. He's so afraid that he doesn't look up and covers his face with his hand while Clarissa is balancing the boat and moving it forward. Ali can feel the hot sun rays on his back and the movement of the boat.
How would you show Ali can feel the hot sun rays on his back?
So he's bare chested. So when he's lying on the surfboat on his back, we can see the sun rays on his back. So
okay, then Clarissa.
Yeah, Clarissa tries to speak to Ali, but he's too scared to even look up and is crying. Suddenly, a big wave starts to approach, and as he looks up, he screams. Suddenly, Ali finds himself underwater. He opens his eyes and is dumbfounded to see the school of fishes and corals underneath. He even sees Clarissa underwater, who takes his scuba diving mask and secures Ali's face with it. Clarissa holds Ali's hand and takes him to see the most magnificent side of the sea, where Ali sees flocks of jellyfishes, seahorses. Both of them even touch a big green turtle. Suddenly, Clarissa notices that she can no longer feel the boy's hands. So she looks back, and to her surprise, she sees him swim. He takes off his mask and smiles to Clarissa, and she smiles back to seeing the boy.
Okay, so this is how a woman helps little boy overcome this fear of the sea. Is that so? In a single line?
Yes, sir.
That is what your story is about, Anna.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think this is good. And Clarissa ka description kya hai? Clarissa, a red-headed woman, Anna. So a red-headed woman, apart from being red-headed, what else? A red-haired woman. What else what is she wearing? How old is she?
Yeah, I could have added those description. I was thinking and
हल्का सा छोटा सा ऐड करना जरूरी है.
Yes, sir.
We are sure whether she is a local woman or a tourist out here, and Ali local बंदा है या वो भी tourist है. You know क्या है ये?
Yes, sir. I could have mentioned that.
ये हमें समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. हाँ, लेकिन relationship समझ में आ रहा है.
Yeah,
very good. And what I like in your account, the scene, is the character arc of a little boy who's 10 years old, who's scared of the waters, not being able to decide, and suddenly is helped by a stranger, a woman, okay, and takes him deep into the sea, which unfolds in its beauty, and suddenly the boy is missing, and she discovers the boy is swimming now. So ये जो तुमने लिखा है कि ये जो लेडी है स्कूबा डाइविंग का वो क्या बोलता है मास्क जो होता है वो लड़के को पहना देता है ना सो दैट बट वो मास्क पहनने से क्या होगा हाउ विल इट हेल्प द बॉय
so he will be able to breathe underwater.
Okay,
so he won't panic.
So he won't panic, but is that possible? I mean, technically, is that possible? I don't know. This is just a technical question. Because I think you need to have an oxygen cylinder also with you. With your,
so what happens with certain masks is the mask is hooked onto this pipe, which is above goes beyond the water level. So it takes air from the air above the sea.
Okay, so it has to be
because
that
water level is not.
So it has to be that long, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
But is this?
It's not clear.
Because they go quite deep also, na? So how long is that? I mean, it cannot be so long also, na? Number one.
No, it's not that long.
So number one. Number two, if you're wearing that kind of a mask, I think you have to breathe through your mouth and not through your nose. Is that so?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that needs practice. So how can you expect a 10-year-old boy to acquire that habit immediately? That practice immediately.
Right. I kind of
it comes. So जो भी तुम लिखोगे सीन वो fallacy, logical fallacy नहीं चाहिए. ठीक है ना? So but otherwise I like the scene, bonding between two strangers, जिनका एज डिफरेंस भी काफी है. Okay, so this is good. I like the character arc. Okay, चलो अभी आ जाओ वत्सला, if you are there.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Just give me 1 minute, sir. I'll switch on the video. Yeah, sir. So the first one, sir, it's about the minimal dialogues. Yeah, Samarth sees the signboard, Meghalaya Tourism welcomes you to the Living Root Bridge and smiles. It is raining incessantly. He carefully walks down the stone steps and onto the root bridge. There is another gigantic bridge above his head extending from a tree. Suddenly, he sees a little tribal girl standing in the middle of the bridge. As he moves closer, she says something to him in her language which he can't comprehend. He replies in English and she replies in very broken English. You come me. He takes it as a signal to follow her. They hike for a while and see another root bridge. This one is rotting due to heavy rainfall. The little girl enters the stream strategically where the water flow is less and looks back at him to see if he's following. His face shows his fear as he looks at the little girl and carries the girl along the waters. They hike for a long time and encounter many root bridges. Every time the girl tells him how to bypass the root bridges with the help of streams, and every time he carries the girl. Finally, he arrives at the village that the signboard says is a Khasi village, but the girl is not done guiding him. She takes him to a small cafe. When the man behind the counter sees the girl, his eyes sparkle and he pats her head and rewards her with chocolate. The man guides Samarth to sit in fluent English. Samarth enjoys piping hot Maggie and lemon honey tea under a canopy.
It's the last part, but the girl is on the right. She takes him to a small cafe. And the man behind the counter sees the girl. The man behind the counter is another character, right? Third
Yes,
character.
sir. Yes, sir.
Eyes sparkle and he pats her head and rewards her with the chocolate. The man guides Samarth to sit in fluent English. Samarth enjoys piping hot Maggie and lemon honey tea under a canopy. The girl has acted as kind of a tout.
Yes, sir.
Right? The girl has fooled the stranger.
Yes, sir.
And brought him kind of, और एक जैसा होता है हर स्टेशन के बाहर कुछ दलाल रहते हैं ना, आइए kind of ले जाते हैं कहीं होटल में kind of. देखो this is it has a twist. Your scene has a but this is not a scene. What you have written is almost like a you are required to write a scene. What you have written is almost like a film, मतलब a story rather. You know, because as I was explaining to the other students, the scene is defined by a single space.
Yes, sir.
But यहाँ पे क्या है? They traverse a long distance. तो चलो वो भी मैं मान लूँगा. It's a sequence. You know, sequence जहाँ पे the sequence is also defined by a single purpose. Scene is also defined by a single purpose. Okay, a sequence can consist of several scenes, but we call it a sequence only if it is defined by a single purpose. यहाँ पे purpose क्या है? Sequence का कि Samarth is being guided by a little tribal girl, okay, and he doesn't quite know. I mean, where is she leading him? Okay, and so the adventure trip they undertake. That's very interesting visually. Okay. And finally, they arrive at a village which shows signboard. It's Kashi village. Now, once you enter the restaurant, it is a different scene.
Yes, sir.
Difference because it is a different space. Okay. So, though it is good, but you have not followed the parameters rightly. Okay. Because it is a different scene now. It cannot be a different scene. It has to be one scene. Two strangers. यहाँ पे क्या है? Let me see. Two strangers. Write a scene. Write a scene between them with minimal or no dialogue. So try to understand what is the scene. So you're required to understand.
सर इसमें चैलेंज है that if it's only one scene then sir हम उस scene को conclude कैसे करें because then वो twist नहीं आएगा.
तुम्हारा voice crack कर रहा है. Can you switch off put off your video and repeat your.
Hello, am I audible?
I still can't hear you.
Hello, sir.
The voice. Just write down what you're asking on the chat box. How to conclude the scene properly so that we stop. Basically, maybe the hotel wala is standing outside the restaurant, owner is standing outside the restaurant. Okay, instead of inside. Okay, because the story that you have picked up, in this case, it is not possible. समझ में आ रहा है? Okay, but otherwise it's very good. It's the descriptions are they hike for a long time. Again, you see, this is, I'm telling to everybody, try to avoid sentences, phrases like long time, situations which happens over a long time and encountered many root bridges. How would you show that? You know, long time. A scene ideally should not be more than 2 minutes. A big scene is like 3 minutes. तो तुमने जैसा लिखा है ये 3 मिनट वाला सीन नहीं बनेगा, ये ऑलमोस्ट 10-15 मिनट वाला एक फिल्म बन जाता है. And a film has a lot of scenes, so yours is not meeting the parameters, addressing the parameters. Okay, it's not a scene, it's more like a film, complete film. A scene is a part of a film, a unit, a single unit in a film. Okay, because if you're actually wanting to film this, trying to film this, you have to really break down the entire action. They hike for a long time and encounter many root bridges. These are different scenes. So whenever you are writing a scene, I'm telling this to everybody, try to be as concentrated as possible. Try to be as focused as possible. Focused in the sense in terms of the minimal time and single space. Don't try to cover a wide range of time, wide span of time. ये मैं पहले भी बता चुका हूँ, I think initially, isn't it? Yours is more like a sounding more like a story. Okay. और अभी क्या है तुम लोग, this is another advice I want to give you. Look up the net. And there are a lot of scripts available, mainly of American films. Okay, and try to read a couple of scripts and correspondingly watch the films. I would suggest तुम पहले film देखो, film देख लो, film देखने के बाद तुम वो film का script पढ़ो, देखो script कैसा लिखा गया है, scenes कैसे लिखा जाता है, और उसका तुमने film already देख चुके. Okay. So now you do the comparative study. So you get an idea how to write a scene. Am I clear? ठीक है, ये practice शुरू कर दो तुम लोग. चलो.
Yes sir. Hello.
ऋषवेद, हाँ कौन? ऋषवेद सुनील.
Yes sir.
तुम हो?
Yes sir, I am here.
हाँ चलो start.
It's a dark forest where trees were so tall that they blocked out the sun. The ground was covered with thick leaves and all we could hear was a noise of insects. A man was running quickly, his feet repeatedly striking the path. His breath is coming out in short gasps and he's looking over his shoulder. His face is terrified as he's being chased by something or someone. A huge sound of elephant is being heard from far away. A man was wearing a round hat, a small backpack, boots and holding a walking stick while he was running. He then stopped running and suddenly climbed the tree by throwing his walking stick down. While he was climbing, he heard another noise from the branch above his head, where he saw a woman similarly dressed as him, fearfully watching the man. Because of the fear of the unknown, both of them started to scream at each other. They then suddenly stopped screaming when they heard the elephant noise again from far away, keeping their hand on the mouth. They both looked at each other for some time and realized that they were in similar situation. After a brief moment of silence, the man began to greet each other in their native tongue and asked the woman to assist in finding the way out of the forest. The woman responded in another language and said something which the man didn't understand. Both of them understand that after talking their own language that they don't know each other's language. Then they get down from the tree and try to communicate with each other through actions. The man was running for a while, so he asked the woman for water by giving thumbs up to his mouth. The woman understood the sign language and gave the man her water bottle. They understood that they can communicate only through sign language. They were both trying to find a way out of the forest, but neither of them knew the other's language. Through combination of practice and trial and error and body language, they eventually able to communicate with each other. After a few actions of each other, realized that they both were heading in same direction. They decided to travel together and see if they could find the way out of the forest. After a few hours of walking, they come to a fork in the path. The one path led to the left, another to the right. They didn't know which way to go. So they decided to flip a coin to see which way they should go. Their coin landed heads and they went left. After they walked, they pointed to things and tried to communicate with each something in his language, and woman do something in her language. They both laugh and nod, understanding each other despite the language barrier. They stopped their walk through the forest when they heard a noise. They both turned around and saw a large furry tiger standing behind them. Tiger was growling and looking hungry. The two of them didn't know what to do. They were both scared and didn't know how to defend themselves. The creature took a step towards them, and the man told the woman to run in opposite direction. The tiger chased the woman, but the woman got along the tiger and the woman got away. The woman ran with tears and in her eyes to find help, but the other traveler was never seen again.
तुम लोग जो काफी लोगों ने तुम लोग जो गलती कर रहे हो कि तुम लोग सीन नहीं लिख के तुम लोग कहानी लिख रहे हो।
Okay, sir.
हाँ, सीन क्या होता है? कहानी का एक अंग होता है ना? Scene is a moment in the story. Okay, so instead of writing that, instead of capturing that moment, you know, you are writing a long story. वत्सला भी लंबा story लिखी है, तुम भी एक बहुत लंबा story लिख रहे हो. So you have to discipline yourself. You understand. You must understand. तुमको बोला जा रहा है एक सीन लिखो भैया, कहानी मत लिखो, ठीक है ना? कहानी तुम लोग लिख चुके हो पहले असाइनमेंट से. This is the fourth week we are meeting. Okay, तुम्हें अभी scene लिखने के लिए बोला जा रहा है, and scene is a moment in the story. Okay, so what you are doing, you're expanding on the events, and one event is leading to another event, that's leading to another event, and the plot keeps on unfolding. Okay, and it's becoming a total film. You're not required to write the whole film. What you have written, it's like a 20-minute का film, आधे घंटे का film. As a film story, this is good. As a film story, this is interesting, exciting, मजेदार भी है, adventure भी है, सब कुछ है. लेकिन तुम्हें तो स्टोरी लिखने के लिए नहीं बोला गया ना, तुम्हें सीन लिखने के लिए. ये समझने का कोशिश करो. तो तुम यही जो तुमने लिखा है, जो भी तुमने लिखा है, वहां से तुम एक पर्टिकुलर सिंगल इवेंट या एपिसोड तुम you can pick up and build that, expand that. तुमने बहुत कुछ लिखा. इट इज डार्क फॉरेस्ट. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तुमने पास्ट टेंस में लिखा. मैंने तुम्हें बहुत बार मैंने बोल चुका हूँ कि पास्ट टेंस में मत लिखो, प्रेजेंट टेंस में लिखो, ठीक है? इट इज डार्क फॉरेस्ट वेयर ट्रीज आर सो टॉल दैट दे ब्लॉक आउट द सन. The ground is covered with thick leaves, and we could hear the noise of insects. Don't write we could hear. We can hear everything. The noise of insects can be heard. A man is running quickly, his feet repeatedly striking the path. His breath is coming in short gasps and he's looking over his shoulder. His face is terrified as he's being chased by something or someone. The huge sound of an elephant is heard from far away. The man is wearing a round hat, small backpack, boots, and holding a walking stick while he's running. देखो आज के तारीख में राउंड हैट कौन पहनता है? ये तो पुराने जमाने में 100 साल 150 years ago अफ्रीका में जो लोग एक्सपीडिशन जाते थे ऐसा राउंड हैट पहनते थे. Okay, he then stops running and suddenly climbs the tree by throwing his walking stick down. While he is climbing the tree, he hears another noise from the branches above his head, where he sees a woman similarly dressed as him, fearfully watching the man. Because of their fear of the unknown. हाँ, यहाँ से देखो, यहाँ तक तुमने जो भी दिखा, ये बहुत concrete visual है, हमें दिखाई दे रहा है. लेकिन this is the first sentence you write. Because of their fear of the unknown, both of them start to scream at each other. Don't write because of their fear of the unknown. ये मुझे दिखाई नहीं देता. ये this is ये visual नहीं है, ये information है. ठीक है? तुम ऐसा लिख सकते हो. He sees a woman similarly dressed as him, fearfully watching the man. They look at each other and suddenly they start screaming at each other. ठीक है? Why they start screaming at each other? You don't have to write that, because that is happening inside their head. Then they suddenly stop screaming when they hear the elephant noise again, far away, keeping their hands on their mouths. They both look at each other for some time and realize that they are in a similar situation. No, realize is happening something inside their head. The fact that they are looking at each other, the audience can understand, and the characters can also understand that they are in a similar situation. So you don't have to write they realize.
Okay, sir.
Okay. ये हमें समझ में आ ही रहा है, उनको भी समझ में आ रहा है. नहीं तो औरत, lady, why would she be on the branch? After a brief moment of silence, the man and the woman, they greet each other in their native tongue and ask the woman for assisting in finding the way out of the forest. The woman responds in another language and says something which the man does not understand. Both of them understand that after talking their own language, don't know each other's language. So again, don't write anything which is happening. They understand. You know, this he speaks in a language which the woman does not. Woman ka gestures se हमें पता होना चाहिए. She is not able to understand. The woman says something from the gesture of the man. We need to understand that the man is also not understanding. Okay. So a woman responds in another language and says something which the man, by his gesture, she doesn't understand. Both of them understand that after making their own language, they don't know each other's language. Then they get down from the tree and try to communicate with each other through actions. Okay. This man is running for a while. He asks the one for water by giving thumbs up. This man was running for a while. इसका मतलब वो बोलता है कि I've been running for a while. Gesture से कैसे समझाएगा? Telephone.
No, sir. As he actually is showing that he's running from coming as running. So as he was running, so he has thirst. So he has asked for water.
So why have you written this man was running for a while? Don't write this now.
Okay, sir.
ये ऑलरेडी हो चुका है. जो हो चुका है वो मत लिखो. तो सामने दिखाई दे रहा है सिर्फ वही लिखो.
Okay,
तो हैंड जेस्चर करके बोलता है पानी दो. तो पानी देते हैं. They understand, they communicate each other. Then the both now, you could have ended here. तुम्हारा सीन यहीं पे खत्म होना चाहिए था.
Okay, sir.
ठीक है ना. फिर तुमने फिर नया एक शुरू किया तुमने. Kind of, then they start traveling together. There's a fork and all that. They meet the tiger, etc. Okay, so यहाँ तक अगर तुम लिख पहले it's more than 350 words. It's definitely not just 350 words, isn't it? So don't write a story when you're being asked to write a scene. Scene क्या होता है वो समझने का पहले कोशिश करो.
Okay, sir. So it happens in the same location.
हाँ, क्या बोल रहे हो?
We want to write the scene like it happens in the same location, like.
हाँ, तो scene heading तुम दे सकते हो. Exterior jungle dash evening or day.
Okay.
ठीक है ना? हाँ, तो कहानी मत लिखो.
Okay.
Okay. Asharullah, आ जाओ.
Yes, sir. Base camp, Kamet Mountain, Uttarakhand, 3.2 kilometers. Turn left. Chaitanya turns his Thar and turns left, seeing the signboard.
Good.
He opens the window and feels the chilly breeze flowing in the valley. He drives for few minutes.
यहाँ पे देखो, यहाँ पे that it's a chilly breeze flowing in the valley. How will the audience understand there's a chilly breeze blowing in the valley?
So as he will open the window, a gush will come and he will close his eyes. That I have not written.
तो वही लिखना चाहिए ना?
Yes, yes.
हाँ, तो उसका एक्सप्रेशन से हमें पता चल जाएगा. It's chilly.
Yes,
है
yes.
ना? Okay.
He drives for few minutes and stops, seeing the base camps at the foothills of Kamet. He gets down off his Thar and takes his bag along with his jacket. He rubs his palm together and exhales a deep breath. He wears his leather jacket and goes inside the tent, which had a sticker written 3A on it. He checks his phone to confirm the allotted tent. Chaitanya keeps his bag on.
यहाँ पे तुमने वही गलती किया जो बहुत लोग कर रहे हैं कि any change in space is a new scene. So as long as he is inside the jeep, that is one scene. He was driving. Now, as soon as he gets into the tent, that's another scene.
Yes, the scene is basically set around the foothills of Kamet Mountain and where the base camps are set up.
But you're required to write one scene, na? You're not required to write two scenes or three scenes.
Yes, sir, I got it during the discussion.
टेंट के अंदर डाल रहे हो तो वो दूसरा सीन बन जा रहा है ना? ठीक है, चलो पढ़ो.
Chaitanya keeps his bag on the small table in the tent and takes out a bottle of old monk. He opens the cap and pours it in a stainless steel glass kept on the table. He takes a seat and looks at the fireplace and the bundle of woods kept near it. He then comes out of his tent and looks.
This is another scene because now it's exterior, interior. You know, every scene is defined by a single space, interior, exterior. Chalo, paro, continue.
He then comes out of his tent and looks for his fellow mountaineers. He
first of all, again, how do we know he's looking for his fellow mountaineers? Because that is something we cannot see. We can see him. He's looking this side. He's looking that side. But whether he's looking for fellow mountaineers or he's looking for caterpillars, we have no way of knowing, na?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
He goes in front of a tent and asks if is anyone inside. A shadow of a woman wrapped in a cloth could be seen. She stands and comes closer to the tent and says, "Kaun hai?" Chaitanya could not understand what she said, but he smiles.
How will एक second. यहाँ पे the fact that Chaitanya could not understand the Hindi कौन है, ये audience को कैसे पता चलेगा?
Yes, sir. So he will.
तो चैतन्य को ठीक है, चैतन्य कैरेक्टर, तुम राइटर हो, तुम्हें ये इंफॉर्मेशन पता है, लेकिन ऑडियंस को ये कैसे समझ में आएगा कि चैतन्य को ये समझ में नहीं आया?
Yes, sir. The facial gesture that he will make, that I have not written.
Okay, then.
He then requests in a very polite manner. The lady, again, the lady could not understand. But she unzips the tent. But she unzips the tent and allows him to enter. He sees that there is no firewood.
Again, so now as he enters the woman ka tent, now this is a new scene. Okay, so you have written several scenes. Chalo, paro.
He sees that there is no firewood and he runs towards his tent and brings the bundle of wood and lights it. Chaitanya sees a beautiful lady in her 30s wrapped in a bedsheet. Her dark blue jeans and pink cardigans were slightly visible. He takes a notebook and pen kept on the table and draws a figure of mountaineers and shows it to the lady. She nods and says yes. Chaitanya smiles and takes few more wood pieces and places them on fire. She feels comfortable and puts her head on his shoulder and sleeps. Chaitanya smiles and didn't say anything. Suddenly, sounds of a vehicle was heard. They both stood and went outside. A man came and introduced himself. "I am Jagdish. She is my wife, Sunita. She doesn't know English and Tamil, Mr. Chaitanya. I am your guide." Chaitanya looks at Sunita and they both smile.
देखो, मतलब ठीक है. This is an interesting story, but suddenly there's a sound. First of all, Chaitanya kisses on a small table. Just let me understand a couple of things. A shadow of a woman wrapped in a cloth is seen. She stands and comes closer to the tent and says, "Kaun hai?" Chaitanya couldn't understand what she says, but he smiles. He then requests in a very polite manner. The lady cannot understand, but she unzips the tent and allows him to enter. He sees that there is no firewood and he runs towards his apna tent and brings the bundle of wood and lights it. Chaitanya sees a beautiful lady in her 30s wrapped in a bed sheet. Her dark blue jeans and pink cardigans are slightly visible. He takes a notebook and pen kept on the table and draws a figure of mountaineers and shows it to the lady. She nods and says yes. Mountaineers or mountains? Kya hai?
Means basically he draws a figure of mountain and people were climbing on it. That shows that they are doing mountaineering.
So ye kyun draw? Why does it draw?
He wants to ask that whether are you the person who is doing this along with him?
Are you the person who is what?
Who will do this activity along with him?
Is she the guide, isn't it? That is his intention.
Yes.
Okay. Chaitanya smiles and takes few more wooden pieces and places them on fire. She feels comfortable and puts her head on his shoulder and sleeps. Itna aasan. A stranger, India mein woman, who's Hindi speaking woman, conveniently किसी stranger के कंधे में सिर रख के सो जाएगी.
So I have to build that, but the 300 sword limit
so then don't do it.
Me.
ये जो तुम bonding दिखा रहे हो, it's almost like a physical bonding, है ना? I mean, physical in the sense I'm not saying sexual, but it's almost kind of a two strangers, and she's an Indian woman, and looks she's not an urban woman, maybe. Okay. So itna jaldi, she cannot. Come so close to a stranger. Suddenly,
so the idea which I had was that when the fire is lit, then they will feel warmth, and that in that cheering cold, when they will feel warmth, then they will feel comfortable, and in that sense, she will keep her head.
Maybe they are like frozen. The woman is frozen, and this kind of a bonding can happen. But वो तुम्हें describe करना पड़ेगा, वो तुम्हें build करना पड़ेगा.
But the word limits.
I can understand. तो अगर word का limit है तो वो कोशिश ही मत करो. मतलब ये कहानी मत लिखो, ये सीन मत लिखो, कोई और सीन लिखो.
Yes.
यहाँ पे बहुत ही ये pat लग रहा है. We use a word in English word called pat, P-A-T. मतलब बहुत ही convenient लग रहा है. Logical नहीं लग रहा है.
Yes.
Suddenly, sounds of a vehicle is heard. They both stand and they go outside. A man comes and introduces himself. I am Jagdish. She is my wife Sunita. She doesn't know English and Tamil. Mr. Chaitanya, I am your guide. So this third man already knows that this guy is Mr. Chaitanya.
Yes.
How come? And there are so many other camps now. So which you have shown. These are not the only two camps, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So how come this third man comes and immediately?
So because he is basically a tour guide, so he knows that how many people are coming and who are they going to help.
Okay, again you see you have written almost like a story, it's not a scene. A scene needs to be very, very concentrated. Okay, ideally a scene needs to be in real time. Real time मतलब अगर scene का तुम्हारा duration screen time is 2 minutes, तो उसके अंदर जो घटना हो रहा है वो भी 2 मिनट का घटना होनी चाहिए. ठीक है ना? तुमने लिख रहे हो वो ड्राइव कर रहा है, काफी देर तक ड्राइव करता है, बहुत कुछ तुम दिखा रहे हो. ये गलती सब कोई कर रहे हो तुम लोग.
Yes, sir. So now we know that what we have to do when we write scene.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
एकदम limit yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. अभी कौन? आकांक्षा सोनोवाल.
Yes, I'm here.
You're there? Just show me your face. Okay. Are you here for the first time?
Yes, sir.
Where were you all these weeks?
Sir, I have written the stories, but not sent it across because I wasn't confident about the content. So, but I do have the drafts.
Is this your first class?
No, I have been there. No, this is not
attending. But with me, this is your first class.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I have been attending your classes, but I haven't sent the assignments.
Okay. Where are you from?
I'm from Guwahati, Assam.
Yeah, so you're from Guwahati. Okay, chalo, kitna lamba likha? I think it's more than 350 words.
Yeah, it is more than that.
Okay, chalo, still, paro.
Establishing shot of the highway, the camera pans and focuses on a blue-colored Marco Polo intercity bus. We zoom in to the bus and see a bunch of passengers.
Just a moment. When you're writing a scene, never indicate camera positions or camera.
All right.
Okay, that comes much later. We call that the shooting script. You just write the action, the description, whatever is happening. अभी वो long shot में लूँगा या close up में लूँगा या zoom करेगा या cut करके नजदीक जाऊँगा, those are later decisions. ठीक है? So yeah, so don't write SR, just write the highway, full stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I figured out the problem when you have been explaining it to others. I mean, I made it more like a story than a scene.
Yeah. This is probably most of you.
Yeah.
Okay, chalo.
So we zoom into the bus and see a bunch of passengers until the camera stops and focuses on Siddharth. Siddharth is engaged with his Pentax K1000 35mm film camera. His eyes are glued to the screen where he is swiping through recent pictures featuring the beauty of hilly lanes with local shops and banners above them, scribbled Kohima Dalle, Kohima Kitchen, and so on. Locals dressed in traditional attires with multiple tribes having their own dialectical garment. Siddharth has taken the window seat, whereas the seat beside him is taken by his camera equipment and a rucksack. After a while, Siddharth takes a break from his camera and tilts his head outside the window, where the tour guide informs the team that they have reached Viswama village in Nagaland and will leave for the trek to Zuko Valley in about an hour. Siddharth looks at his watch. It was 11:20 a.m. He picks up his bags and gets down from the bus along with others. All the tourists begins to check inside the guest hostel. As he enters the room, he notices two bunk beds on either side of the bus. He takes a brief look at the room and quickly drops his bags on one of the empty beds below and makes a trip to the washroom, which he later realizes to be shared for all genders by looking at the board above. It is an old, rusty, and dingy bathroom, hardly spacious enough for just one person. Sid gets in and takes a dump. However, when he moves on to press the toilet handle, it malfunctions, and now the squat toilet seems to be clogged. He tries to look for water, but there's hardly any, even on the sink. Sid looks really annoyed and decides to register a complaint, or at least
यहाँ पे decides to register a complaint. अभी तक तुमने जो भी लिखा, we could see, but that is decided to register a complaint. This is an information that we don't see. So when you're writing a scene, don't write anything that we don't see. Okay, just the action. Okay, then.
Or at least look for one of the workers for help. But just as he steps outside, he notices a beautiful girl with golden brown hair, pearl-like cyan eyes, waiting in line to visit the washroom. She was wearing a beige t-shirt and a blue flowery wraparound skirt. She looks at Sid, smiles, and politely says, "Finny." Sid, not getting what she said, gestures with his hands, indicating not to go inside. They spend 10 minutes trying to communicate without the conversation going anywhere.
Just a moment. They spend 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a long time. In real life, you can spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes speaking or sign language with a stranger. Okay, but when you're writing a scene, a lengthy scene, as I was telling somebody, can be maximum 3 minutes. Okay, so you cannot show two strangers who do not understand each other's language. They're trying to communicate for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a long screen time. Okay, so don't write. This is a request to everybody. Don't try to cover so much of time. 10 minutes is a long time. Okay, then.
Trying to communicate without the conversation going anywhere. Sid points towards the bathroom and makes a cross-arm symbol indicating a no. The girl asks, "More wise." Sid, now trying to speak, says, "I really don't understand, but please don't go inside. The flush isn't working." He points outside, trying to explain that he needs to find one of the workers for help. His face turns red like a tomato, trying his utter best to save himself from the embarrassment. Finally, the girl, confused, walks in and notices the clogged toilet. Sid hurriedly moves forward and points towards the toilet handle, trying to communicate that it's either broken or malfunctioning. So he moves closer to the toilet and pushes the toilet handle downwards when it suddenly makes a flush sound. Sid, truly embarrassed, turns red. After a few seconds of silence, the girl bursts out into laughter and Sid joins her. Sid realizes she probably got what he had been trying to explain it to her so far. She finishes her business while Sid waits outside the bathroom with his palm in his face. They bond well after that, using hand gestures and share their socials.
This is a very good story, and most of it is very visual also. It's a very funny story also, quite unusual story also. Nobody writes about bathroom jokes, isn't it? Which you have done. So that way it's very unusual, thoda sa hatke hai, kind of. But this is not what has been asked of you to write. You have been asked to write a scene. This is not a scene, this is a story.
Yes.
Amusing story, good story. I'm not saying it's not good. It's definitely very good, but this is not what is what has been wanted.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, chalo. Let's take a 5 minutes break. 7:30. Let's meet at 7:35. Okay. Let's meet at 7:35. Okay. Okay, let's take a 10-minute break. We'll meet at 7:40. Okay. Okay, we'll be back, all of us. कहाँ गए तुम लोग?
Yeah, we are here, sir.
Okay, चलो अभी कौन है अभी? Are we done with story 1? All of us, all of you? Or is there
So some of them have not read, but I think they are not here.
Not here. ठीक है. देखो अभी तक क्या है? Before we proceed to story number 2, अभी तक I'll just scroll up and find out. अभी तक किसने जो सही लिखा, सीन जैसी होनी चाहिए वैसी लिखना चाहिए. किसने, मैं बता रहा हूँ. देखो ईशानी चौधरी का सही है. You know, she has written a scene, okay, though it's a long scene, okay, but she has met the parameters, standards, okay. आदर्श पांडे नहीं है और ये सोहम भी नहीं है. प्रखार अग्निहोत्री भी जो लिखा है almost a scene, okay, and ये कौन था? टू स्ट्रेंजर्स भी था, वो नीरज और आर्या वो ट्रेन में मीट करते हैं.
सर प्रशांत.
हाँ प्रसाद.
प्रशांत.
हाँ, this is good. You know, this is a scene. This is the proper scene. Okay, set inside a space which is inside a train. Okay, between two people. This is a proper scene. So this is good. So all of you can read Prashant's a scene when you have the time later. And ये भी अच्छा है. अद्रिजा कुंडू का, दो अद्रिजा कुंडू का जो फर्स्ट जो है starts from inside the tent, वो नहीं होनी चाहिए था. Should have started from outside the tent. अद्रिजा कुंडू का भी अच्छा है. Best has been एकाग्रा single. ठीक है? A man and a woman on a boat, on a raft. Okay, this is a proper scene, very concentrated. कम टाइम में हो रहा है, लंबा स्टोरी नहीं, बहुत घटनाएं नहीं. Okay, एकाग्रा single. आज was today his was the best. Okay, a lot of people are not there. So now we'll proceed to story number 2, situation number 2. Saurabh Rajput, you there? Are you there? He's not there. Ishani Chaudhary, you're there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. Just a moment, I'll just plug in my charger.
Yes, sure.
Okay, Ishani. First of all, let me just read out this thing. Prompt kya tha? Can you see the screen? Am I sharing the screen?
Yes, I can
Okay.
see
All
the
of you
screen.
can see, and what was the prompt? Can you please ये कहाँ गया?
Writers,
Just एक सेकंड, वो चैट का बॉक्स क्या? हाँ. Write a scene with no or minimal dialogue that depicts one of the following: superstition, loss of courage, है ना? Either superstition or loss, or just loss, and or courage. So these are themes basically. Superstition is the theme, loss is a theme, and courage is a theme. Okay. So you're required to write a scene, again, a scene, not a story, on either superstition, the theme of superstition, or the theme of loss, or the theme of courage. ठीक है? तो ईशानी, तुम्हारा क्या है theme? बोलो.
Superstition, but I think I ended up writing a story instead of a scene.
Okay. Chalo, read out. Let's see.
The police burst open the door, outside which Dr. Aranya Das's nameplate is visible. The police sub-inspector makes eye contact with Aranya, who is still in the clothes splattered with red blood. Aranya sees the inspector and jumps from the window of his ground floor flat, runs as fast as he can, tearing through the crowd in the marketplace and the police chasing after him. The sub-inspector comes extremely close to Aranya. Aranya loses all his breath and stops, closing his eyes and thinking he's been caught, when after a few minutes he realizes that he still isn't in handcuffs and looks back. He sees a
देखो,
black...
एक second. यहाँ पे देखो, Aranya loses all his breath and stops, closing his eyes and thinking. देखो, there's no thinking business in scene or film writing, visual writing. Because what is thinking, the audience has no way of knowing. ना, वो तो दिखाई नहीं दे रहा है ना. ठीक है ना? So don't write thinking he has been caught, and when after a few minutes again, after a few minutes is a long screen time. Don't write after a few minutes or 10 minutes. ठीक है? चलो.
Finds he realizes that he still isn't in handcuffs and looks back. He sees a black cat pass through the lane and the sub-inspector hesitating to cross the road. Aranya finds it extremely amusing, so he laughs very hard for a few seconds and then gets inside a cab. Aranya's face shows a sense of triumph, and then he opens his phone and books a flight ticket to Singapore and tells the driver to go to the airport. He checks his pockets and finds his passport. He's so tired of the chasing that he falls asleep on the back seat. He suddenly opens his eyes and sees the time. It is already past his flight time. He looks at the driver and starts to cuss when the driver motions his hand towards the front. Aranya gets out of the car and starts walking and sees that the car had been stopped for Ganesh Visarjan processions. He pleads with the people to let his cab go by, but the men disagree, saying it is omen to do so. Beads of condensation start to appear on his head and forehead, and suddenly his phone rings and he realizes he was supposed to throw away his SIM card, and he opens the back of his phone and throws away his SIM card. He hurries back to his cab and while looking at his watch, tells the driver to take him to the nearest bus station. But when he looks up, he sees the police inspectors sitting beside the cab driver, and then realizing that he's completely surrounded by policemen.
No, again, this is more of a story than a scene. Okay, or you can call it a kind of a, part of a film that we do not know why he's being chased by the cops. So it's just a moment. Yeah. So again, you have not captured the moment. It's a long, story happening over several spaces and stuff like that. And if you have already missed the flight, why would he bother to request the people to give passage to the taxi? Because he's already missed the flight. And of course, the fact that he's been caught by the cops are there, that comes as a surprise. It's a nice ending. But again, it is not really a scene. A scene, again,
yes,
has to be very, very capture the moment and milk the moment.
So basically, it has to share one time and space.
Exactly.
So it cannot be that afternoon mein scene start or evening mein.
No. Even if it is the same space, then it becomes different scenes. And a scene is defined by a single purpose. Every scene has a single purpose. Cut to the next scene, that has another purpose. Cut to another scene, that has another purpose. Okay. So यहाँ पे बहुत कुछ हो रहा है. He's been chased. Of course, he's been chased. That is the dominant purpose. Plane का ticket buy करता है, kind of. So try to understand what is the scene. Okay. start watching films and reading up at the same time, reading up the scripts of those films. Most of the American scripts of American films are available. Okay.
Yes, sir, I'll do that. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Akanksha Sonowal.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Show me your face. Akanksha. Adrija, bolo, what do you want to say something?
So when we are writing a scene, when we are expected to write a scene within like 300 words, there can be an abrupt beginning and an end, or are we expecting it?
Yeah. There need not be a build-up. Look at the beginning. Look at the first scene of this very famous film called Erin Brockovich. I'll write down the name of the film. Okay.
So the examiner is not looking for, say, a twist or a conclusion.
No. It's just a moment. Even a scene can have a beginning, middle, and end. ठीक है ना? जैसे कि मतलब a beginning, middle, and end does not mean कि it has to be spread out and it has to be long. A moment can have a beginning and a middle and an end. Or you start the scene at the point of crisis, where we are already in the middle of a tension, and then how the tension is resolved.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, and plus you're given only 350 words to write a scene, so you have to be very specific.
A lot should not be happening. It should be very.
No. Don't clutter. You cannot clutter a scene with so many events and incidents.
Okay, so thank you.
A scene is a moment. Always remember, a scene is a moment in the character's life. It's just one moment, one specific moment in the character's journey. So what is that moment? Capture that moment. Okay. Akanksha is writing on courage. Again, don't mention camera angles, establishing shot and all that. Okay.
Establishing shot of a young girl sitting in an armchair with a copy of an international newspaper in her hands. She reads out the headlines. Over 8 months since the Taliban had taken over the capital city of Kabul, Afghanistan yet again turns into a haven for terrorists. Taliban official bans education rights for women. Zara, with a flustered face, keeps the newspaper aside. She gets up, puts on her slip-ons, and gets ready to leave her apartment. Be back in an hour, Ami, she mutters. She walks outside the narrow lanes, keeping her head low and adjusting her burqa. While walking, she notices an old parlor which is under construction. She finds Kabul Beauty Parlor scribbled on a banner above it. She decides to walk inside the parlor. As she enters, the wind chime jingles, making a pleasant soft melody. Welcome, greets one of the ladies inside. Hello, Adiba, Zara says. The parlor looked packed with young girls and women. One of the young girls, almost Zara's age, turns on the TV and puts on a local news channel. How the news and our minds have been filtered along the same tangent. It's almost mind-baffling, says Zara. Thank God for my cousin who sends me copies of international papers by post. At least journalists outside are capable of doing their jobs. Adiba looks at the clock. It's almost 2 p.m. She switches off the television. The woman lowered the curtain. The little girls help. All the women and the girls unpack their books and start to arrange themselves in a way that all of them could sit comfortably in a circle. Turn on to page 36, Time and Space Kanchana, says the oldest lady in the room.
No, you could have started your scene instead of the girls, where we see the girl for the first time sitting on an armchair. वहां से तुम scene शुरू नहीं करके तुम यहाँ से शुरू कर सकते थे. From inside the room full of other girls also. You establish that space, and then you establish this girl entering the room. Okay, and she looks around. Welcome, greets one of the ladies inside. Hello, Abida, Zara says. And from यहाँ से यहीं से तुम scene शुरू कर सकते थे. और जो तुम्हारा information है, वो information तुम यही scene में somehow or the other you could have conveyed. Over 8 months since the Taliban had taken over the capital city of Kabul, Afghanistan yet again turns into heaven for terrorists. Taliban officials bans education rights for women. ये जो information है, which is some newspaper, maybe she's carrying the newspaper, or she takes out the newspaper and keeps it beside. And another girl who's sitting close to her she glances at the newspaper and reads the headlines.
Right.
Kind of, when she takes out the notebook. So then it would have been a single space and then it would have been a scene.
Right.
यहाँ पे अभी दो scenes बन गए, है ना?
Yes, sir. Understood.
So it's good. Otherwise, it's good.
Thank you.
Ekagra ka first story was the best. The first scene that he had written. Okay, and that was on the raft. Na? The raft wala, na?
Yes, sir.
So that is the best. That is the best. Abhi tak abhi jo bhi pare hai. That is the ideal scene. He has captured the moment. So I'm requesting all of you to go through Ekagra ka, that particular, the first one, the first scene that he. Let's see what he has done with this. Okay, chalo.
Yes, sir. This one I have written it on about courage.
Courage. Okay.
The lady makes the announcement as it is heard by all the passengers aboard the train. This man gets in amongst the others who board at this particular station. He looks to his left and there's a beautiful lady standing who he starts taking sideward glances of. And in no time, without him even being conscious of it, he finds himself ogling at her bosom. The lady finds out too, and suddenly their glances meet and he continues with his ogling.
Just a moment. Yeah, this lady makes an announcement as it is heard by all the passengers aboard the train. The man gets in amongst the others who board at this particular station. So when the scene opens, we're already inside the train, isn't it?
So when the scene opens, this lady is actually, sir, they are different ladies. That's a mistake I made. The lady is basically the one you hear, the voice.
वो मैं समझ गया हाँ वो लाउड स्पीकर से आ रहा है, स्पीकर से आ रहा है,
yes,
है ना? लेकिन तुम्हारा जो जब सीन जब शुरू हो रहा है वो ट्रेन के अंदर से ही शुरू हो रहा है ना, वही मैं पूछ रहा हूँ.
हाँ वो basically announcement हो रहा है and the guy is entering.
Guy is entering. So the camera is already inside the train. That is what I have asked.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, chalo. Then
meanwhile, the young lad standing and witnessing this event looks at the man, and then at the lady, both unaware of him being a participant in the event. The man looks at him, their eyes meet, and he goes back to his ogling. The woman adjusts her dupatta a little and tries different postures as she holds the railing beside the seat with her grip tightening throughout. Voices of passengers can be heard with the undertone of the bassy and buzzy emanating out of the metro movement across the rails. She gives a sideward glance at the man to find that he is still staring. The young lad gets up from his seat and stands erect right at the middle of the two, breaking the line of sight. He locks his eyes with that of the man and starts whistling.
Very good. Again, what you have done, it's not full of events. Okay, it's a moment that you have captured about a lecherous guy who's ogling at a woman's breasts. Okay, and the woman is feeling uncomfortable, and the situation is held by this young lad who comes and stands in between.
Yes, sir.
So shows his courage. Okay, na? So you have captured the moment. This is what is desired in a scene. सीन में ज्यादा बहुत कुछ हो रहा है, बहुत लंबा जर्नी हो रहा है, जीप चला के 10 माइल कवर कर लिया, फिर एक रेस्टोरेंट में पहुंचा, इतना लंबा नहीं लिखने का. मोमेंट कैप्चर करो एंड मिल्क दैट मोमेंट, exploit that moment. Okay, so all of you please go through Ekagra single ka both the scenes. So you'll get an idea what is required in a scene.
Sir, I had a question. If I could ask now, or should I ask later?
Bolo.
So, sir, one thing I really wanted to ask was, if let's say they tell us to write in 4 pages and we end up writing it in 2 only, does that negatively impact the score?
नहीं देखो maximum 4 pages ऐसा बोला जाता है, right within 350 words, right within 600 words. ठीक है, अगर 4 pages तुम्हें दिया जा रहा है, तुम 1 पेज में खत्म कर दे रहे हो, that might go against you in the sense कि why they are asking you to write in 4 pages ना, at least write 3 pages or 3.5 pages.
Got it.
So थोड़ा सा और elaborate करो. ठीक है, अगर 350 वर्ड्स बोल रहा है तो then you accordingly tailor your whatever you are writing, है ना? So that is of course that has to be followed. Does not mean it has to be exactly 350 words. ऐसा नहीं है. Can be 300 words also. It can be 320 words, but it cannot be 100 words only.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay, Adrija, चलो तुम्हारा last आज पढ़ते हैं. Adrija, you are there?
Yes, a lot is happening in mine.
A lot of things are happening. ठीक है, चलो पढ़ो, एक बार पढ़ लो, हम लोग सुन लेते हैं. Yours be the last one for today. Then again we are meeting on I think day after tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes.
चलो.
Sunlight is peeking through the cracks of the leaves of a house plant. Birds are chirping. A thud sound, newspaper falls on the apartment door. Several days of newspapers are lying. Alarm goes off. Divorce papers unsigned is lying on the bedside table. A man wakes up in bed alone, looks at the empty side, shuts the alarm, wears his glasses, and opens his notifications. Happy 10th anniversary. Several messages flashing on the phone. He dials a number. No one answers. He takes a photograph kept on the bedside table of him and his wife smiling and stares at it for a moment. His eyes well up. Water is dripping from the kitchen faucet. A big pile of unwashed plates is lying on the sink. Two birds are sitting on an electrical line. One flies away while the other one chirps. He goes to the bathroom, brushes his teeth. Two brushes are kept in the glass. He takes the other and throws it in the bin hesitantly. He walks to the kitchen. There's a half-open packet of Maggi kept on the counter. He puts it in a bowl of water and places it inside the microwave. The dish moves in circular motion inside, and the man folds his hand and watches. He plops on the counter and eats the noodles in the stillness of the house. He washes all the plates. He opens the apartment door, picks up all the newspapers. The apartment is messy. Clothes are lying everywhere. He folds the clothes one by one and cleans the house. He takes a watering can and moves to the balcony. He switches on the radio and waters the houseplants that look wilted and dry. He hums to the music. The doorbell rings, but he's unable to hear. He continues humming to the music and watering the plants. His phone is lying inside the room buzzing. A woman clad in red sari places a succulent outside the door and leaves.
Red sari places succulent what?
Succulent, it's a plant.
Okay,
So basically, what I've done is I showed that the apartment is in a mess and there's divorce papers lying. So this man is depressed. His life is not together. It's a mess.
Right.
The apartment also like mimics that. Today is the day of his anniversary. And he makes a call, and when the call nobody answers, he realizes that now it's time to like get his life together. So he starts cleaning his apartment, doing the things he needed. He tries to move on. Just when he was moving on, this woman comes. So the woman it's understood that it's his wife. Comes, but he's
this is good. Look, this can be done in a single scene. I mean, 80% of it is actually good. The descriptions are good. It's very visual. You can see the entire whatever you have written, the action, and you can understand the mood. Okay, na? So I wouldn't come down very heavily on your scene, but it's just that if you could have been a little more selective and conveyed the same emotion. Okay, so this is actually not bad. Because when you're
can you please?
जैसे कि he goes to the bathroom and brushes his teeth. So this becomes a different scene. Okay. So can you avoid that? And then he walks into the kitchen. That becomes another space, isn't it? So that is another scene. Okay. So if you could have, he might go out of the room and then he can come back again. But because it is a scene, one scene. Okay. You cannot follow the character out of the room to the kitchen or to the bathroom or to the balcony or wherever he's concentrate the entire action in the single space and convey the same idea that you've read. The mood. ठीक है? Otherwise your descriptions in the sense कि it's very visual. I could see all the actions. ठीक है? Yeah. तो ठीक है, चलो, we'll meet day after tomorrow. And आप बोलो समर्थ. Yeah, Samarth, unmute yourself.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, actually, it's my first class, so I just wanted to know where to submit this assignment.
I think ये नरेश सर से बात कर लो.
Okay.
You are given a time, kind of certain time within which you have to send it to Naresh sir. He copies and pastes all the submissions onto a single document, which he uploads them.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Yeah. So we meet day after tomorrow, huh? Okay, chalo. All the best.
Sir, day after tomorrow we'll be doing the remaining ones.
Tomorrow, day after tomorrow we'll have another session, 6 to 8.
Take it.
Okay, na? With me, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start sharing. Okay, chalo, bye.